Welcome to another episode of TalkingSense. I'm Latane Conant, CMO of 6sense, and I am here with Chris Walker, CEO of Refine Labs. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Refine Labs.
If you look at a lot of companies, the way that I see it is that they're not marketing effectively, which then forces them to be grossly overweight in sales headcount. A lot of BDRs, a lot of outbound, a lot of AEs, low efficiency and productivity. And so if you can fix the marketing engine, you can increase the efficiency of your sales engine, you can lower your sales headcount, you can invest more in marketing success and product, and the business does better overall. That's basically the theory.
Hey, I like it. It's a good theory. As we were chatting earlier, the reason I wanted to have you on the show is I think we're either going to be in wild agreement or, I don't know, maybe arm wrestle or something.
Okay.
One of the things that I loved listening to is you posted on LinkedIn about me and my budget and that I'm wasting just a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm opening the kimono. Here's everything I'm spending on. Just call BS.
Okay.
What am I spending money on that I should stop right now?
Let's start with what are you spending money on? Your top 6 line items.
My top 6 line items. Well,
aside from headcount, so
okay.
variable expense.
Okay. So we do have one trade show.
Okay.
That is probably our single biggest line item.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we go all in on it,
mm-hmm.
and we do a lot of ancillary events
mm-hmm.
around it, and it is 100% the biggest pipeline driver all year.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
We try not to do very many booths.
Mm-hmm.
I think we still have 3 in our plan, unfortunately, for 2020. But I've said that we can't do any more.
Okay. The easiest expenses to cut out and move to something that's more effective are big trade show booths. So anything over a 20 by 20, I believe you're wasting money on doing that because the value of what's happening at the event does not happen at your booth. The people walking by are not looking to discover your brand by walking down the trade show booth.
Totally
I
agree.
think things have changed there. I'm not a big buyer of display. I think that there's a more effective way to get your brand in front of people and deliver information than display, despite how inexpensive display is. A lot of people buy display because of the CPMs that are like $2 to $4. Other places where I think that companies are spending money are print collateral, mainly for field-based sales organizations. So I worked in a medical device company. They spent $200,000 on brochures and little like pens and other things that you would hand out. I thought it was a complete waste of money. We took that from 200 to 50, took that 150 and moved it somewhere else. Sponsoring conferences, like putting your brand on whatever, I think is a huge waste of money today. And print ads in a B2B magazine or something like that, I think are places where companies maybe not as forward thinking as your company, but a lot of B2B companies in general, I think, are wasting a lot of money there. Putting a one-page ad in a magazine that nobody picks up and reads.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah. I think those are the ones that I think are a complete waste.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we agree on that. Okay, cool. Now
so
I'm
far,
like,
no violence.
Now
We're
I'm like,
that.
What else is in my budget?
But if you look at just data in industries, somewhere between 18% or more is spent on trade show booths for a lot of industries.
So here's my question on that. How do you are the trade shows what's going to happen to the trade shows if we all start saying no to their booths?
I don't think people are going to say no to them, so I don't think we have to worry about that. I think that smart companies are changing their strategy around trade shows. So if you must have a booth, have a small booth.
Totally.
Cut it in half. So whatever.
Totally.
If you're a huge company and you're getting a 30 by 40 or whatever the biggest booth is, I don't even know, then cut it in half. and then take that, whatever amount it is, it's probably $50,000 to $100,000, and have a satellite event, like that you said, that actually drives brand value, not the like sign over your booth that 100 people see.
But I think here's the challenge, or that it sounds easy to talk about and say,
Yeah.
oh, drive a satellite event, but the reality of someone who's been doing this a long time is, to do that, you can't be lazy. So you have to.
The booth is late. The booth
Is a very lazy strategy.
I agree.
Like, you rock up, you've got your swag and this and that, and you've got your scanner, and you go around, and then you send a bunch of emails afterwards, and
all the people working the booth are hungover. Your lead follow-up isn't great. You're having basic conversations that you could communicate the exact same information in a 1-minute video delivered to somebody that you're having in the booth with a prospect. You're scanning their badge. They're not actually interested. They don't answer your emails. I think that's the cookie cutter approach that I've seen, like I said, 7 or 8 companies in a row make the exact same mistake. And I think it needs to change.
But you fundamentally have to change the way you approach field marketing to do what we're talking about. And here's why. Because you have to be incredibly organized, first of all, way more organized. You have to start way earlier in the process. You have to have some way to understand who's coming to the event, which requires AI, big data, things like that, because you usually don't get the list until right before. And so there's a lot of collaboration that has to happen with sales. Like, I believe that an event, like, my success or failure for an event happens with how many meetings we got pre-booked.
Totally agree.
But that's a hard change. I mean, I've made that change at 2 companies, and it's not an easy thing to manage with the sales force. What, I just don't get to go? No, you have to have like 5 qualified meetings.
Yeah.
And there's we always have software to track those meetings. I mean, it takes a level of...
It's a strategic decision that you've made to change how you do this.
Yes.
And most companies aren't even thinking about it.
Yes.
Now, when you go to the trade show, are you focused on net new, current customer? What's the mix? Like, if you have to have qualified meetings, who are they with?
It depends.
Okay.
And it depends on who's going and who's qualifying.
Okay.
So for us, this year, we said that you had to have 5 meetings, 3 of which needed to be new.
Okay.
So they could get 2 with customers to but they needed to have at least 3 that were net new. And usually what I try to do is set the goal actually really low, so that it's like, if someone's complaining that they can't get that,
they probably don't belong there anyway.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, the first year I did it at
agree.
Aperio, I think I set the target at like 3 meetings. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
They can't get 3 meetings at Dreamforce? Like, come on.
I agree.
And I try to make sure that they have a SME too, because you end up flying all these other yahoos to the event too. Like, you know what I mean?
I know.
Like me, like the exec team
and
SMEs and this and that. And so, like, the last thing I want is them standing around. So I try to have a qualified meeting. Needs to be them with a customer or prospect and some other SME.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, it's worked pretty well.
Cool. So we agree on that.
We agree on that. Okay. Let's talk about Facebook. Because you're really bullish on Facebook.
I am.
I'm not sure. Convince me.
I think it really depends on the company, the product, the target audience, like everything. I think it depends on it. The thing that's worked really well for us, and I'm talking companies that are selling a product, ACV less than 100K. So average contract value less than 100K.
Okay.
If you are a company that's selling to IBM, I do believe that this strategy could work for you, but I haven't done it myself, so I'm not going to talk about it. And so we'll set the cutoff less than 100K. We have done deals that were 200K ACV, but on average it was less than 100. Create high top of the funnel content, kind of like what we're doing right now, actually.
Okay.
And post-produce it so that it can be delivered to the Facebook feed, targeted at the job titles or companies or fields of study or professional associations that you're going after. create brand awareness from the content, because we're not looking for someone to just see the brand in the feed. I'm looking for them to click through it and consume what I'm delivering.
Okay.
So we track metrics all the way through consumption. And then we trade on that awareness that's created. It drives inbound opportunities just through the awareness.
How do you know it came from that?
So what we did is we had a marketing mix.
Is it like the view through kind of what I talked about?
I'll talk you through it. It's certainly not that technical.
Okay.
So we had a mix. We were spending appropriately on all these different channels, $5,000 a month on Facebook ads. And 1 month we took it from $5,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
So we upped the
budget.
A month.
Wow.
A month.
That's rich.
Well, the pipeline and all the other revenue metrics supported that spend.
Okay.
And so when we 10x the budget, we saw the pipeline increase appropriately. So we got to it dialed in to, if we spent $1 on Facebook ads, you would get $100 in pipeline, and we'd win somewhere between 30 and 40% of those deals.
And now how do you make sure, because Facebook is so broad,
Mm-hmm.
how do you make sure it's the accounts you care about?
So
that's been my challenge with
Mm-hmm.
some of the more social is you pay for impressions.
Yeah.
And there's no quality metric for
Mm-hmm.
Which impressions you want versus the ones you don't.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just part of the game.
I think it's just, first off, the CPMs on Facebook are $6 to $8. The CPMs on LinkedIn are $60 to $80.
Yeah,
so
they're expensive.
The difference is pretty large. If you want to go targeted, maybe you do go to LinkedIn and pay more CPM. But what we're doing, and it's agnostic of the account, because we're going after people that we think are ideal to understand the information that we're creating and putting out, which then drives word of mouth, conversations internally, a lot of other things that doesn't actually have to be targeted at the account. We run ads, we see this huge hospital download all of our guides, but we know that hospital uses our competitor's product, they're locked into a contract, they're never gonna buy from us.
How do you know that?
Because
you just, in the CRM or whatever?
Yeah, our rep had the meeting, I did win-loss analysis, I called the decision maker, and did the evaluation. They said, your sales rep spent 9 months trying to track us down. We were never going to buy because we are in a contract with your competitor.
Right.
And so that's how you find it out. And that's, it's not the only part of our mix, but I believe, and it's working for me on LinkedIn too. I create broad content, not targeted at anyone. So I'm connected with account executives and marketing managers.
So you're doing more organic right now.
On LinkedIn, 100 for me, 100, and for what I recommend for everyone is organic LinkedIn through a personal profile.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
A lot of people pay. I've done the experiments on paid. I don't think that I think even if you're selling $1 million product, I'm not sure that it gets you what you actually want.
It just has gotten so expensive over the years. It used to be awesome.
Really?
This is my experience. Yeah. Okay, is we used to crush LinkedIn.
Crush by what measurement?
Inbounds. But
MQLs.
Yes. So, but this was 5 years ago, and it was a lot less expensive. Mm-hmm. As the prices have gone up, mm-hmm. It just didn't economically make as much sense.
Yeah.
And it became more of a brand thing, which is
mm-hmm.
But you don't really know it's a brand thing. So
mm-hmm.
now we've moved to all organic on it.
Yeah. Organic through a personal profile.
And this isn't, when I say we, it's these are two different companies, mm-hmm. so it's a little bit apples and an orange, mm-hmm. but anyway.
Yeah,
that's more my own personal experience.
I think we can get to one of the more interesting parts of this, I think it will be of this conversation, which is that if you're using LinkedIn to drive MQLs, I've done the testing, you're going to get leads at whatever price you want. Sometimes $5, sometimes $500, whatever. The odds of them turning to revenue are very small.
And the Facebook ones are high.
No, because we're not doing conversion-based ads through Facebook.
Okay.
So we're doing content, top of the funnel. Here's the stuff. I'm not asking. There's no CTA. I'm not asking for anything. And
you just want to get them to your website.
On the website, consuming the message that I've created, and then just wait. And then when you do that 6, 10, 20 times over, somebody eventually has a conversation with their boss or the person that needs to, or maybe they are the decision maker, and then that person comes back on desktop, consumes your value proposition, and converts. And it happens because we're not asking for anything. The buyer's coming in at their initiative, not ours. So if you're doing a conversion-based ad, it's our initiative to get them as a lead. They're in the feed. They're looking at vacation pictures or whatever. They weren't ready to buy that thing.
But that's kind of the same strategy we would use with display too. Is we're just in the flow with them, getting them to consume content, and then when they're ready.
What content are they consuming? So like, walk me through the display process. So I'm just gonna guess. So you run display, that building over there with a lot of people in it. You have your target people inside of the account that are going to be on their desktop computer and see your ads, right? Click-through rates probably pretty low.
Because only grandmas are gonna like.
Nobody clicks on banner ads. So like, what do you, besides the impression? Then we need to debate the value of that impression. But all you're doing is basically putting your logo in front of someone, right?
Well, so what we do is, because we use our intent signal and we know the keywords that they care about, we dynamically change the keyword, so we know it's in the flow and we know it's something top of mind for them. And then when they come to the site, we've prepared content again based on those keywords. So we sort of are anticipating, or it's better than anticipating. We have a pretty good idea of what they're interested in. So it's not just like 6sense.
Yeah.
It's,
And then talk me through the timeline from impression, on average, impression to inbound conversion, and then what is that conversion? Is it, I want to talk to your sales rep, I want to quote, I want this mid-funnel thing, like what is the conversion that you're measuring to?
Well, we don't use MQLs at all. We don't use them at all.
I don't even use SQLs. It's opportunity or nothing. It's binary.
So, well, we have something called an in market. So my job, so basically, I use predictive analytics to know when an account is in target. And if they're in target, they're not doing any research. They're a good account for me, but they're not doing anything. And I don't want to spend one dime on them. They're so not ready to buy. Okay?
We're going to have a good conversation. I'm ready for this.
Then, and there's like, so many accounts that like I can't waste
How many?
So there's like 20,000 accounts right now in target.
Got it. Okay.
Like, why would I?
just
It's
wanted
too
the
much.
magnitude, yeah.
It's too much. So then I move to awareness. And in awareness, I know that they're researching things that indicate they have a problem, like predictive analytics, like ABM, like demand generation, sales and marketing, things that maybe analyst firms or events. I know that they are waking up to the fact that they have a problem that's related to what I do. So my strategy there is to use, content. I write very specific content to them. I understand kind of the key periodicals and things that digital places I need to be. So I use a lot of organic and earned media. I'm really about earned media. I don't pay for a lot of media from a content perspective. And social, organic social, to get them basically to tie their problem with 6sense. Then they move from that phase into consideration.
Okay.
Now, consideration for us means that they're starting to research branded keywords. So they're actually looking for a solution. So they might be researching our competitors. They might be researching against certain events. I might be able to see like certain ebooks or things that I know they're consuming. And so a lot of preparation for me happens here. This is when I go out and I want to buy contacts from, because I've got to be able to surround. I know I need more than one buyer. And so I changed my message from a display perspective to be more in tune with like where they are in their cycle. I also start to try to surround more of that buying team.
Sure.
And then once they flip from there to in market, that's when I have my BDRs start outreach.
Okay. So
my goal is to get as many accounts in market for my BDR team.
I think the one, it's not a whole, but maybe it's a recommendation, is that the whole model is built on someone getting into awareness.
True.
Right? And
I
so
have to
what I'm
believe
doing,
that I have product market fit.
100%.
And I have to believe that like there's a market for, so if I'm not getting anyone into awareness, I think I have a bigger problem with what my solution is.
Yep. And so what I do is instead of waiting for someone to search the keywords or show awareness, we could take this video, could chop it up. Maybe we get a 4-paragraph blog about how MQLs suck.
Let's do it.
We package it in a Facebook feed, target your VPs of demand gen or whatever the job site you're going after, get them to read it, which then from a cold contact begins the process of awareness. It's going to move people from, what was the first step?
Awareness.
Oh, no, it was before that. It was
target.
It's going to move more people from target to awareness and then get your funnel started.
Okay.
It's I think a lot of companies have their strategy built around starting with when someone has intent, whether it's search or other signals. And what I'm really focused on is how do you, especially if
create intent.
How do you create intent? How do you start that process when someone's cold, not doing something? That's where I think, as I say it, where most of the value of what I do is.
Okay. So 2 takeaways. 1, just think outside the booth. No more booths.
Love it.
Huge waste, right?
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
I've been banging that drum for 5 years now.
So think outside the booth. MQLs are bogus.
Yeah, we should go in more detail for people on that one.
That MQLs are bogus?
Yeah.
All right. Why are they bogus?
Why do you think they're bogus?
Because they mean nothing.
So I think there's a couple things to break down. I agree that it means nothing.
It's a person, not for us. We know there's multiple buyers involved in a decision, and so I think if you maybe have a more transactional model, it is probably could be a good metric for you. But for us, it's not a good metric.
I think a lot of companies. I mean, what is the process? The first thing is, what is the process that you're taking? If you get an MQL, do you give it to a BDR? Is that like what most companies do?
Yes.
Okay. The win rate on those has to be 0.01%. Like, I believe that by taking someone that has not shown interest at all and flooding them with heavy outbound, you're actually creating the opposite of what you want.
They're getting annoyed.
They're getting annoyed with you. Like, I'll give you an example, and then we can I won't say the company. There's a company where I go in, and whether it's in social or on their website or anything, and download the most top of the funnel or relevant guide to their business. And 3 minutes later, a BDR that's been there, worked at the company for 6 days, calls my cell phone. And I, as long as I can, will never buy their product because of how much it's happened.
Because it's just annoying.
It's just annoying. And it doesn't match how I want to buy things. And I talk about it on social and all of my other platforms all the time about how I hate that approach. And people still do it. And so they don't treat me like a person. They treat me like a MQL or a number or whatever and throw me through their funnel. And I'm sure that it works for some people. But I think that we should debate the question, is it worth the one sale for how many of the me's that you're creating that are actually against your brand? I don't recommend it to people. And unless there's a specific application where I must buy your product, I won't.
So just because they called, or because they called and you weren't ready?
They do it repeatedly. So this is
so
like
it's
the
like the
10th
robo-calling.
time. Yeah, and after the 6th time when I say, like, I'm not in market for your product and I'd prefer if you didn't call me, and then I get another email cadence, I just think it's annoying. Like, I think I disagree with the model.
Okay, so we got to rethink the model. And then the last thing that we talked about, to recap, is creating intent versus waiting for intent.
Yeah.
So 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
Think outside the booth.
Mm-hmm.
Ditch the MQLs.
Mm-hmm.
Just break that process. And create intent. Don't wait for intent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Awesome having you
Glad
on the
to be
show.
here.